Hey everybody, welcome to the newest episode of The Bearded Gamer Show. As always, I'm your host with the most beard, Chris Arnone, the Bearded Gamer. No, it's not the biggest beard, but it's just so beard-tastically awesome. I mean, come on. Good news, bad news. So first up is a piece of good news. Now, you all just saw me in my double-wide, huge episode about most anticipated games. I talked about The Last of Us coming from Naughty Dog. Well, it's probably just got bumped up my list a little bit more because some official details have now come out about the game. Some gameplay stuff, more than just this brilliant trailer that was shown. It will not be a co-op adventure. You see the two characters, Joel and Ellie, and their interactions. It will not be a co-op adventure. Ellie will be controlled by the computer, and you will control Joel. Now, this doesn't mean it's going to be a giant escort mission. From what they're saying, it really reminds me more of Enslaved, Odyssey to the West, or 2008's Prince of Persia games, where that companion character is very integral in the emotional connection, but also is key to the gameplay, but you're not constantly just protecting that second character, which I think is just a great dynamic. I like both of those games, so more reason to look forward to it. They've also said it's going to have some melee combat, some gun combat. Weapons will break down over time, so you'll be perpetually scavenging for weapons, which I don't know what I think about that. I've seen it done well, and I've seen it done poorly in several games, so we'll just have to wait and see. But, exciting to finally hear some gameplay specifics about The Last of Us from Naughty Dog. All right, some bad news. Now, if you play a lot of Ubisoft games on PC or Mac, some trouble coming down the way for you. Just temporary, though. Ubisoft is going to be migrating all their third-party servers over from one to another very soon. We don't have an exact date or time frame on this yet, but when it happens, several of their games are going to suffer to the point where they're going to be unplayable while the transition is going on. Games such as on PC, Might and Magic Heroes 6 and Tom Clancy's Hawks 2, and then for the Mac, the original Assassin's Creed, as well as Splinter Cell Conviction. Now, some of their big marquee titles that get a lot of play, they say will be unaffected, like Assassin's Creed Revelations, and a few others. But for the full details of exactly what's going to be affected and when this is going to happen, they've just recommended people go to Ubisoft's official Twitter feed, and you'll get more and more information as it becomes available. All right, some good news again. All right, fans will once again get to pick their cover athlete for the next Madden game. But this time, they're actually widening the field to double what it was last year. Now, last year, Peyton Hillis won, running back for the Cleveland Browns. And, of course, he did indeed suffer the Madden curse, at least for a while. This time, they're going to start with 64 people, 2 players from each and every team. So they're going to start off with this play-in round, they're calling it, where they'll narrow it down to 1 representative from each team. Now, you see the image I picked for this, because odds are, sad as it is for me to say, that Tim Tebow, for God's sake, he's probably going to wind up on the cover. But you know what? As a Chiefs fan, please, go ahead. Let that Madden curse just hit that little bastard as hard as it can. Break his arm or something. That's me. I'm a Chiefs fan. I don't like John Elway because he's a Bronco. I can't help it. It's just how it works. I bleed red and gold. That's the way it is. But anyway, so get excited for that. Once again, football fans, Madden fans, the time to vote will soon be upon us, and will be double the number of players to start off with than we had last year. So, cool stuff. All right, finally end up with some more bad news. Really bad for THQ. Now, there's been a lot of rumors going around. I talked about it several episodes ago about these rumors that maybe they were selling, that they really didn't do well. Well, they have now released their results for their third quarter. THQ lost $56 million in the third quarter of the last fiscal, and that's tremendous. Now, they're attributing much of this to the cancellation of the U-Draw tablet. They say they lost about $20 million on the price reductions that they had to levy to sell the U-Draws that they had already shipped, and they've got another 1.4 million U-Draw tablets in their warehouse that will never see the light of day. That's about $80 million worth of loss right there. So you're talking about $100 million lost off of this U-Draw, and that's not counting, all the R&D cost that this took for years. And so, just really tough times for THQ, but hopefully, moving on beyond this, abandoning that piece of hardware, getting some really good software out there over the next year, they're going to, I hate to see any game company go under or do poorly, because it reduces the amount of great content we have coming out there as gamers. So, here's hoping they can turn that around. Got some big games, like I've said before, Darksiders 2, Metro Last Light coming this year. Should be some great stuff. Maybe get things turned around, get things going better for THQ. All right, enough for the news. Time for, I haven't done this one in a while, Burning Question. Now imagine, if you will, if GameStop were suddenly faced with a big financial problem. So big, in fact, that you thought, man, they might go out of business over this. Well, this recently happened basically with Game, which is the UK's biggest video game retailer. It's still a much smaller scale, but it's a much smaller country. But still, I mean, that's pretty much their version of GameStop. And they were just having a lot of trouble. A lot of people were wondering if they were going to keep their doors open. Well, they have finally worked out a new agreement with their lenders, even though they're predicting about an £18 million loss over this next year. They have indeed secured things so well. They will be keeping their doors open and hopefully give them a chance to reposition themselves, take some better initiatives, and turn that around and do better. But I did my burning question a little differently. Usually I ask a question here on the show, and then I'll read off some of the best answers later on. I found a better way to do it. I just posted the question up on Twitter, got some nice responses, and you know what? I'm going to read them off and show them to you right here, right now. So, from Twitter user at Wanyal, said, not at all. I haven't bought anything from Game in years. Why should I when it's always more expensive than online retailers? Next one we had was from at Agent Prince, fairly similar, said, I'm not. I stopped using them as a retailer years ago. Next user was at Tim Lane, said, worried enough to go out yesterday and spend the Game voucher I got for Christmas before they go out of business. And lastly, at Unthrown, said, couldn't give a monkey's mate. Stopped using them, crap customer service, and rude staff. To be clear, I should have said at the beginning, the question was, how worried are you about Game? And these were some of the responses that I got, specifically from people who are in the UK who use Game as a retail outlet for their gaming purposes. And so, they were worried, but it seems like 3 of the 4 just said they don't even like the store. And we hear a lot of that too from GameStop, but at the same time, used games, at least at GameStop, can oftentimes be one of the best bets you can get. So maybe Game isn't quite as competitive on that front as GameStop is here in North America. But here's hoping. Competition just breeds innovation, makes the entire industry better. So you hate to see a big retailer fall like that, even if you don't like them. It's better to see them try to innovate and become better, become a company that you want to go shop from rather than just fall apart and go away. All right, enough for the burning question. Going to finish up with Nerd TV. Now, some people get a little nuts when it comes to canon. Now, I remember when Dead Space, there was a cross-promotion with Dragon Age to where you can unlock this sort of Dead Space-themed armor in Dragon Age, and it was really, really cool, okay? Now another one's coming up with Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning and Mass Effect 3, where there's, some crossover. But I remember when that Dead Space Dragon Age armor came out, there were people in comments that were just like, oh my god, that's so terrible because it's so out of canon, it's out of context, it doesn't make sense in the Dragon Age universe. Screw you guys, man. It's fun. It's awesome. I enjoy that. I think it's really cool when they do some of those crossovers and mix-ups and mix up a couple of my favorite games in ways like that. It's all about having fun. It's not, to me, nearly as much about the canon and being in canon. It's just awesome. So, Dead Space and Dragon Age, that's just awesome together. Modern memes that infiltrate their way into World of Warcraft, also cool. Lightsabers in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, come on, really, that's just freaking cool. And there is a recent mod that came out, and I tell you what, I'm going to be keeping this one for a while. And I fully well intended, I sat down, fired up Skyrim. I was going to record this video for you myself, but it wound up, I have yet to unlock the perk to forge Daedric weaponry and Daedric armor, which is what you have to have in order to actually forge these lightsabers. So I installed the mod, but couldn't actually make these. I'm level 38, but I've cranked most of my stuff into archery and sneak and some other things like that. I just haven't put much into smithing. So I had to go online and find a video for you to show. But, it's still pretty awesome. It's from a user on YouTube named, and this isn't even pronounceable, V not ONXX. But I took a couple pieces of it and put them together for a clip for you to watch. But please go and check it out. You can just search for Skyrim lightsabers, and you'll find this entire video where he's talking about, you know, making them and going around and using them and how they work. And it's just awesome. I mean, I love Star Wars. I love Skyrim. It's just this of awesome. I guess check it out, and I'll see you next time.
It basically adds lightsabers to the game, and you need to go to a blacksmith, wherever they are, and you'll find the forge, and you have to have Daedric unlocked. So this is my second character. I have one level 81 and one level 67, I think. Yep, bad guys here.
Now ain't this a surprise?
And this is so easy. Run. Oh yeah, and my stamina is